Now, small-scale traders have expressed their frustration with the increasing tax measures in the country. According to the trader, taxes and levies imposed by the national and county governments, which are making it hard to operate their businesses. Now, Jimmy Mbogo joins us with more. Jimmy, good afternoon.
Well, thank you very much, Nakundi, and a very good afternoon to you too. As you rightfully said, this was the launch of the small biz, that is a small biz big tax conversation that was currently happening here. And of course, the big issue is the issue of taxation, and particularly to the informal sectors. We're talking about informal traders. How has that impacted their livelihoods? And of course, some of them just giving testimonials as to how these new these tax measures that have been that were recommended in the finance bill are going on to affect their businesses and their income. So it is about 42 pages report that of course we'll be looking at and just perusing to see some of the issues that have been highlighted here. But and again, something that I should have mentioned, this is a report by Christian Aid and the Institute for Social Accountability, that is TISA, and I'm currently joined by Diana Gichengo. Diana, thanks so much for making time to speak to KTN. So one of the things that we really want you to help us understand, in a summary, what is contained in this report?
The report, Small Biz Big Tax, is an analysis of the fairness of our tax justice system in Kenya, and looking especially at the most recent taxation measures following the enactment of the Finance Act and the assumption of power by the Kenya Kwanza government that promised to take special attention to redistribute wealth through their bottom-up economic transformation agenda. And our tax analyzes how over the years the tax system has evolved, and the current taxes, particularly turnover tax, VAT, excise duty, and the impact that it has on informal traders. And in addition to that, a second layer of taxation that comes from the county government in terms of levies, fees, and licenses. When all these are combined, then you find, and without proper documentation, people who run very small businesses having to contribute so much money in taxation. And it also becomes extremely unfair and unjust, because the tax that is raised, these people are not enjoying government services like health. They still have to pay for hospital bills. When it comes to access to education, all the way from early childhood that is run by counties to schools that are run by national government and higher institution of learning, they contribute. When money is collected in a very, very painful way to redistribute wealth, and yet instead it results in deepening inequalities and poverty, that is tax injustice. In summary, that is what is in this report, and it also shows the challenges the innovations we have in terms of digitizing tax collection at the national level, and proposals that should be taken to the county levels as well, but the challenges of enforcement that include violence, tax evasion, and sexual harassment.
All right, and speaking of sexual harassment, from one of the testimonials that we had during this process, we're seeing a case where women are being harassed and they're now being forced to engage in sexual activities just to be able to enjoy not paying taxes, maybe for a day or two. In terms of the social cycle effect of that, what is the long-term impact of that, and particularly to those who have been victimized?
It's a very tragic thing, and sexual harassment is just one of them. We have experiences where women, and even women with disability, have not been sexually harassed but sexually abused. So they have faced rape when you're running away from county enforcement officials, and you're raped in the process. You can't report, your dignity is mutilated, but you have to come back to this business. Some give up and they resort to other businesses, but others carry the shame forever. But for those who then take the trend of sexual harassment, where as a coping mechanism, I would say sex for business, for me to be able to run my business. it's something very, very off, and you cannot sustain it every day. What happens on days when you're not when you're not able to even have that particular contact with that person? You don't run your business.
One thing that is very clear is that they're not afraid of paying taxes. They don't have a problem with paying taxes, but what they're asking for in return is we also need to see the impact of the taxes that we are paying. Why are we paying taxes yet if I need to use a latrine, I still have to pay for it?
This is something that must get to the same level as we have security. Surely, why have all these enforcement people, paramilitary, police, and so on, yet you cannot afford people the basic dignity of a clean washroom within a public area? We are not asking for government to provide this in our private spaces. The markets that resource this county, the public parking areas that resource these counties, surely it wouldn't be too much that we're already paying 200, that you can be able to pay somebody to ensure that we have clean toilets in Nairobi. So government must do their fair share. And at a time when we have a trust deficit, I think the higher obligation is on government to meet their obligation to citizen, and thereafter we will see cooperation. We will be in the League of Scandinavian countries where people pay willingly, and thereafter all of us are living in dignity, and there is true equity in such societies.
Diana, thank you so much. And of course, Nyakundi earlier on, that is the Deputy Minority Leader, Owen Baya, was also here. And one of the things that we had to ask him is, I mean, they have been part of the government that has been pushing for some of these taxes. What has been the impact of that? And what is the government currently doing to make sure that most of these taxes that are currently being collected are actually properly utilized, and there's a certain level of accountability?
We need to have a lean government. A lean government is more efficient and wastes less resources. We need to plug in the gaps in terms of wastage and ensure that resources are not wasted. And I think it is the interest of this country that we reduce taxes by ensuring that we run a lean government and reduce loopholes and remove all these small departments. Government should not do business. Government should facilitate business. But we have small parastatals here and there that continue to gobble money, and there's no value for that money for the people of Kenya. So it is important that even civil societies advocate for a leaner government.
All right, Nyakundi, of course, I will be giving you more details, particularly as to what is contained in this report later on in our subsequent bulletin. But the main message that is coming from the hustlers is that we are not seeing the dignity and the promises that were made during the campaigns, particularly by this government, and they're asking, how is it that the government forgot so soon the promises they made? But for now, back to you.
Right, Jimmy, thank you so much for that. Now, the European Union, through the Market Access Upgrade Program,